and government. It's a good one.
But
it's a good one.
People began fundraising for me, but I've not seen that many ways. I don't know how much they fundraise, and I would really be willing to receive that car.
Thank you, Omtata. Okay, Mark, do we have any more comments from the audience?
Actually,
yes.
The flowers that I was going to give were actually Schaefer's.
Yes.
She would have allowed me, but Schaefer, I want us to, as we kind of wind up, because we're getting close to 9 o'clock. And first of all, let's appreciate Senator Okiya Omtata for what he's done over the years. And please, wale ambao walianza fundraiser, mfikishieni funds tafadhali, Senator Aendee vizuri. But Schaefer, as a governance expert, policy, what's your irreducible minimum for not just this government, moving forward for this country?
Wow. I'm just thinking. I have so many. I think the first one and the first one ideally for me for this country is to remember who we are, without a doubt, because it is us forgetting and it is us assuming that we are not the people we think we are that got us to many, many, many negotiations with the political elite, and them assuming that they were better than us, and them assuming that they knew how to get away with murder, literally, things, plunder, theft, corruption, all of that. So that's my first irreducible minimum to the people of this country. Never forget who you are and what you are to this country. Like you saw the people in the streets for the first time in a magnitude that my heart literally was stopping, because you are beautiful in the chaos. And I don't think we sit and just kind of take that in and feel like we are incredible, because we are, right? So let us not forget who we are. And we are exactly the people who birthed this constitution, and we are the people who will make sure that every article and every line of that constitution is implemented, right? So that's one for the people of this country. For the leadership of this country, my first one is stop imagining you're smarter than us as an irreducible minimum. Like, just stop imagining that. We are the people who come, we know the law, we know international law, we will speak English, we'll speak multiple languages. We saw civic rise, everybody coming on board and saying, listen, we are going to translate this finance bill so everybody who doesn't understand English, we can take this to our people, right? So the first thing is, please don't think you are smarter than us. You're not, right? The other irreducible minimum is I completely refuse to accept willful ignorance, which we have seen in this government as a strategy, as a tactic, as a policy, mechanism, as an advocacy, as a comms. And what I mean by willful ignorance is this whole thing where government behaves like they don't know what's happening. Right? They only know what's happening when it comes to money. They only know what's happening when it comes to them losing their power, them being deplatformed, them losing their credibility. Then they know what's going on. But when Kenyans say, hey, KNH doesn't have enough doctors, KNH doesn't have running water, doctors are in the streets, they really don't know what's happening. When we are saying there are bodies lying now in morgues who have no names but are Kenyans first, right? Before we know who they are, they now don't know what's happening. They're now investigating. And we've seen this before, right? Where if somebody who has money and a title and class and, sometimes even if you're beautiful, you are taken care of, right? And people will come and find ways to make things work for you. What about the rest of us, So there's that. There's the level of willful ignorance that is used in this country as a way, as a mechanism of governance that is completely unacceptable. And we are not taking that anymore. And it goes into the whole thing of how they plunder. It goes into the whole thing of when they ask questions, now they really don't have the answers. Now it's, the police is now independent. When you ask who signed this, then now we don't really know, because, you have to talk to your MPs. Your MPs will be there saying, we serve our people. But then also the state, I'm like, stop that bullshit, because nobody's buying it anymore, The third irreducible minimum is nobody else should die in this country if we claim to have a leadership or a governance system that is abiding by the 2010 Constitution of this republic. It is impossible to imagine that there was even a dialogue to start today, I guess, because the people who should have been in that room dialoguing are in graves, right? They're the bodies that are cold. They're the bodies that are still missing. They're the people we can't account for. Those are the people who should be in that room dialoguing. So I'm not sure what people like us, right, are supposed to say when the demands are very clear, and the demands have always been clear. Kenyans want a country where they are Kenyans, and because you're a Kenyan, it's enough. You don't have to be a Kenyan Kikuyu, a Kenyan Luo, a Kenyan Kalenjin, a Kenyan Kamba. You just have to be a Kenyan for the fucking systems to work. How hard is that to understand, right? So those are my irreducible minimums. The other thing is, please, and I want to tell this to the generation that came and joined us in the struggle, as somebody who's proud, is that profanity is the language of the free. Profanity is the language of the free. And I mean this to say, everybody else who has been cussing a leader on a platform elsewhere, continue. I tell you this because whenever we ask for respectability politics, whenever we are asking for decorum, for people to behave well, for people to understand the elders are in the room, that is when the autocracy begins. So profanity is the language of the free. So speak freely, call them out, call them what they are, because they are thieves, they are murderers, they are rapists, they are plunderers, they are illegal in the offices that they hold.
Thank you. On that profane note, I'd like to bring you in, Darius. I mean, you sat and listened silently for most of the conversation. But, by way of final thoughts, what to you, as a person who's looked at the history of this country from even before it was called Kenya, what to you is